So today we are going to see how we can perform mouse related operations in Selenium. Mouse operations. So sometimes you may see, sometimes you can see some operations like drag and drop or right click and double click actions on your application. So to perform those type of applications, we have to perform the mouse operations. So how to handle the mouse operations in Selenium? So that we will see today. And especially to handle the mouse operations, we have a different class which is available in Selenium WebDriver, which is called as a actions chain. Action chains. Okay, so this is the name of the class. So this class is available. So in this class, there are certain number of methods are available to perform double click or right click and drag and drop. So all kinds of mouse operations we can perform using those methods, and which are available inside the action chains. Okay, so let us start discussing this. And just a moment. So now we have actions chain. So this is the name of the class which is available. In this we have certain number of methods, and by which we will perform the mouse related operations. Okay, so basically what are the different type of operations we can perform through mouse? So the first operation we can call it as a mouse over action. Mouse over. And we can also do something called right click action, and we can also do by using double click action. And what else we can do? And we can also do drag and drop option, right? So these are the main operations we can do through mouse over, right click, double click, and drag and drop. So apart from this, there are different type of scenarios where we can use mouse operation. Like suppose if we find any slider, so we can just drag that slider, right, one place to another place. Even that type of operations also comes under the mouse related operation. So how to handle the slider, I will show you as an example and a different example. So first let us focus more on these four different type of operations: mouse over, right click, double click, and drag and drop. Okay, now let us see how we can perform this first, and then we will discuss the rest of the things. So go to PyCharm, and let us start with the mouse over action. So what is mouse over action? So sometimes when you see some applications, as soon as you place your mouse cursor on that particular element, there are some other menu options are displayed, right? So for example, let me just show you an application. So earlier we worked with this Orange HRM application, right? So when you log in into this application, and you can see different type of menus, right? So let me just log in, admin 123. So once you successfully log in, now you can just look at this. There are menu options are there. There are so many menus are there. So as soon as I put my mouse cursor on the admin tab, so you can just look at here, there are some other menus are pop up here. And then I'll put the mouse cursor on user management, and then users are populated. Similarly, job, organization. So this is called mouse over action. So placing the mouse cursor on the particular element, and then rest of the or sub options will be displayed like this. You can just place the mouse on any of the elements. So this is called as a mouse over action. So we can place the mouse cursor on that particular element so that we will able to see the rest of elements. So here my operation is normally we go to admin and then user management and then click on the user. So then we will get the table here, right? So earlier we have done the same operation. To get this table, whatever done, we have identified admin tab, then we have identified user management, then we have identified users, and we will perform the click action on every element. So we perform the click action on admin, then we perform the click action on user management, then we perform the click action on users, then we got the table. But the same operation without using any click action, just by doing mouse over action, we can do that. So just place the cursor on admin, then user management will be highlighted. Again, move to the cursor on the user management, and then move to the cursor on the users. And users, we need to perform two actions. One is a mouse over and also click action, and then we will get the table. Okay, the same operation we can also do by using mouse over action, just placing the mouse cursor on the particular element. So now we'll see how we can do this action. And let's go to PyCharm and create a new directory. And let me just give today is day 21. Okay, So inside this, I'm just creating new Python file. I'll name it as mouse over action. Okay. So inside this, we already done that code earlier. So let me just open this. So this is the code which we already done right earlier. So we have just not this one, web table dynamic, right? So we have already opened the application and we will successfully log in and we navigated here, right? So let me just copy the entire code from this and paste it over here. So login is normally we will do. So this is the same process, but here instead of performing this click action, I don't want to perform the click action on every element. So I want to perform the mouse over action. So what I will do is let us save these elements in three different variables. Okay, let me just say this is my admin menu. Okay, and this is a user management menu. Okay, this is user management menu. And here I'm just creating another variable called users menu. So I have captured all three elements: admin tab, user management tab, and then users tab. So all three I captured into three different variables. Now through mouse over action, I'll perform the action. So first we need to go to admin, then navigate to user management, and then navigate to users, and then perform the click. So on the users tab, we have to perform the click action. So now how to do the mouse over action? So to perform the mouse over action, so first of all, we need to create action chains class object, because we cannot directly access method from actions chains class, because this is a built-in class which is already available in Selenium Webdriver. Okay, so first we need to create an object of this class, and through that object we will able to access all the methods by which we will perform the mouse operations. So let's create action chains object. How to create? I'll name it as an act. You can give any name to the object. I'm just giving act. So now this action chains we have to import from this particular package, selenium.webdriver.action chains. So this is a new package which is imported. And now in this act, through this object, we will able to access all the methods. Now these are all the methods which we can use to perform the mouse actions. Okay. Now here, what is a mouse action? We want to use mouse over. So how we can perform the mouse over? By using move to element. There is a method called move to element. Move underscore to underscore element. And here we have to pass on which element you want to move. So what is the first element? Admin element. So that you have to pass. And after that, so first it will move to admin element dot. From there, we need to move to user management element. So again, one more time, move to element, and second element is user management. Again, from there, we have to move to users element, users, right? So move to element, again, users. And now what happens here? So on the users, we need to perform the click, right? So here you say dot click. So now first we need to move to admin. From there again, move to element user management. From there again, move to element users. And here we perform the click action. So now what happens is this particular statement will just create an action. It will not perform the action. So it will not perform the click action. It will just create an action. The whole statement will just create an action. So to perform this action, we have to add one additional method called dot perform. This is mandatorily required. So if I don't specify this perform method, if I just leave the statement here, which cannot perform any action, it will just create an action. That's it. But if you want to perform the action, we have to call one more method called perform. So now what happens? It will first move to admin, then move to user management. From there again, move to users, and then here perform the click action and then perform. So click action will not perform directly. It will just create an action. And to complete this action, we call additional method called perform. So this is the whole statement which will perform the mouse over action. Now, once you are done this statement, what we will get the table, right? The table will be displayed. Now let us try to execute and see. And if you want to mouse over on single web elements, you can just use only move to element one single method. Okay, so now it is launch our page. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so it is giving some error. Now let's see what is an error. Act equal to action chains is giving an error. So yeah, so the problem here is whenever you create an actions chain object, we must pass the driver instance. Okay, because this action chains required a driver instance, which is having a default constructor and that is expecting driver instance. So we already created the driver instance here, right? So the driver instance we have to pass. Don't forget to this. We must pass the driver instance. So actions change class required driver instance. Now execute. Okay, now it is successfully login. Then it should open the admin. Yes, now user management and then user. So now we got the table here. So that means it is successfully mouse over on admin, then mouse over on user management, and then mouse over on users, and then perform the click action. So this is how sometimes your applications may not allow you to perform click action on these tabs. So in those cases, we can use this option, mouse over action. Okay, so what is the method we use? Move to element. For this, we use move to element, and here we have to specify the on which element you want to mouse over. Okay, so this is a method we have to use. And there are a few methods are there, just 3 to 4 methods. You have to remember them. Maybe interview people may ask those questions. Okay, how to handle mouse operations. So you have to tell actions change class object and what are the different methods are available. So you have to tell those method names at least. Okay, so to perform the mouse over, we have to use move to element. This is the method. Now let us see one more thing called right click. Sometimes you may have a scenario like where we want to right click on the element. And when you do right click, you will get some options. Okay, so how we can perform that action? So right click action. So let me just show you one more application. Okay, let me launch this application. So here we can see a right click scenario. Okay, so here you can just look at one button. Okay, so if I just normal click, when you perform normal click, nothing is happened. But when you do right click here on this element on the button, you can see few options here. Edit, cut, copy, paste, delete, quit. Okay, so these are the options you can see. And again, you can interact with these elements in normal way. You can identify these elements. I can perform the actions. Like if you just click on edit, it will give you one pop-up and then click on OK and you can do those actions. But before that, when you will get this cut, copy, paste, these options, when you do right click on this element, then only you will able to see these options. Okay, but when you do normal click, if I identify this element and dot click method will not work because this button is associated with the right click functionality. So even if you do manual normal click, nothing is happened. But when you do right click on this element, you will able to see these options. Okay, now we'll see how we can perform this right click. Go back and create another script. New Python file, right click dot py. Okay, so right click dot py. Okay, so as usual, so first let us try to import everything required packages. So I also put some implicit weight. Sometimes it is required. And after that, we will launch our application. So I'll say driver.get and go to the application. So copy this application and paste over here. And then I'll try to maximize the browser window. I say driver.maximize window. Now, so first of all, before right clicking on this element, first of all, we need to capture this element as a web element. So how to capture this element? So normally when you right click anywhere on the page, we can see these options and we can inspect that page. We'll get the HTML, right? But if you just right click on this element is having some right click functionality, right? So you will not get an inspect option, but still I want to locate this element by using certain number of attributes. So how we will get them? So for that, what you can do is we can simply right click somewhere on this page, go to inspect and you will get the page. And after that, take this inspector option, arrow mark, and then show that element like this. Okay, now that HTML code is directly highlighted. And for this element, let us take the XPath of that element, go to selector hub, Okay, and take this element. So it is giving normal place, right click it is giving. And actually, yeah, this is the element only. So no problem, you can just get this element. And we have a class. Class is also there. So if you want to use this class attribute, you can still use. So instead of this text, what I will do is I will just change the XPath. So span is a tag name. So I'm just trying to use class equal to, I can specify this class value here. Okay, so this will also find that element. Copy this and first get that element. So driver dot find element by dot XPath, and then specify that XPath whatever you captured, and this is written button, right? So this element, let me just say button. So as soon as you capture this element, we need to perform the right click action on this button. So we have to perform the right click action. So right click as a mouse action. So what we will do now, we need to create action change class object. So let me create an object called at equal to action change. And whenever you create an action change class object, it needs a driver instance. So we have to pass the driver. Now how to perform the right click on this element? So to perform the right click on this element, we have to access that method by using object act dot. There is a method called context underscore click. Context underscore click. So this method will perform the right click action. On which element we need to perform the right click? So this is the element we captured. So just pass that element. But this will just create an action, but it will not perform the action. So we have to call additional method called perform. That is mandatorily required. So this particular method will use to perform the right click action on the element. Okay, now let us see how it will perform. So this is actual method perform the right click. So let's try to execute. Okay, now we can just look at this. We got this menu. Okay, so this is how we can just perform the right click action by using context click method. So to perform the right click, we have to use this method. And here button in a sense is an element. On which element you want to perform the right click, you can just specify that element. All right, and perform should be there. Okay, after using this method, we have to end this method with the perform. That is mandatorily required. Now this is how we can perform the right click action. So the next one is a double click action. So how we can perform the double click action? So let me just create another script. So to perform the double click action. So to perform the double click action, so let me just open an application. Okay, so this is simple application which we have. All right, so if I just look at this, in the right side, there is a simple form is available. So in the field 1, there is small text is displayed and field 2 is empty here. So field 2 is empty. Now, if I just normally click on this copy text, when you perform the normal click, nothing is happening. But when you do double click, the same method, same message copied into the second box. So this is happened only with the double click action. So when you perform the double click action on this button, then suppose you can also change this data. So I'm just removing it. I'll say welcome and then double click on the copy text. So the same text is copied into the second box. Okay. Now this button is having a double click functionality, which is associated with that. So now we'll see how we can perform the double click action. So most of the people will think like this. When you want to perform the double click action, instead of doing double click action through mouse, we can do the only click action 2 times, right? So, but that is not exactly equal to double click action. Okay. So same element, on the same element, first time I will do click. Again, second time I will do click, but that's not becomes a double click. So double click is having a different action. Okay. There's a different thing. So let me just see how we can double click action we can perform on this element. But before that, I will also pass some value here. And by default, this second box is empty. So I'll clear the first box value. Then I'll enter my value, my own value. then perform the double click on this button. And basically these fields are everything is available in the frame. And if I just inspect this, you can find some new tag called iframe is there. Okay, so inside the frame these elements are there. So if you want to interact with this element, first of all we need to switch to this particular frame. So how to switch to this particular frame? So there is a id is there, name is also there. So you can directly pass an id of the frame or name of the frame inside the switching command. So that will automatically switch it to the form. Okay, now let us see. So let's create another example, new Python class. And this is double click action. Okay, so inside this, what I will do is I will just copy some piece of code. Okay, so now here we specify the driver instance and implicit wait and launching your application, this application, and maximize this window. And now, first of all, we need to switch to this particular frame to interact with these elements. So when I inspect this element, so when I inspect this frame, so there is iframe here and the name is iframe result. Okay, so let's copy this name and directly switch to the frame. So how to switch to the frame? I can say driver dot switch to dot frame, then specify the name of the frame. Directly you can specify. Now this will switch to the frame. Switch to frame. So after switching to the frame, then let us try to interact with this element. So field one I want to locate. So inspect the field one. So here you can see input tag is there. Field one is ID. Okay, so we can get the XPath for this, or else we will write our own XPath. So it is already generated. So let me capture the XPath for the field one element. So I'll name it as field one. Okay, I'll give some name. Okay, field one driver dot find element by dot XPath and specify that XPath. So this is the element I'm just capturing. I'm not doing anything. I'm just capturing the element. And this is a comma. Now I capture the field one element. By default, some text is displayed. So I just want to, if I refresh the page also, by default, some text is displayed here. I want to clear the text. So how to clear the text? Take this element dot clear. So this will be able to clear the value. And after that, on the same field, I want to enter a new value. By using send keys method, I can enter some new value called welcome. So now first input box is filled. Now the same value, whatever we have entered, I want to copy this in the second field, but not by using send keys method. I just want to double click. I want to perform double click action on this element. So we need this element also, copy text. And for that also, let us capture. So we don't have anything, right? Attributes, copy text, only text message is there, inner text is there. So let's capture this XPath and try to get the button element. So driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify the XPath. So this is basically button, right? So let me just create a variable button. Okay, so now we enter some value in the first input box. First we have cleared it, then we pass some value in it. Then we capture the button. So we need to perform the double click action on this element. So this is a mouse operation. So what we will do, we have to create actions class object, action chains class object, action chains, and we need to pass a driver instance. Now, what is the method we can use to perform the double click action? So to perform the double click action, we have a direct method is available, act dot double underscore click. Double underscore click. So here we have to pass the on which element you want to perform the double click. So we can just pass the button and this will create an action. So to complete this action, we have to call another method called perform. That's it. So this particular method will perform the double click action on the element. Double click action on the element, and we can see the same text on the second input box after performing the double click action. Right. So let's execute now. Okay, now you can just look at this. The first field is not cleared actually, and it is enter the new value, but it is not actually cleared. Without clearing, it is enter the new value. But double click action is performing well. but let us see why it is not cleared. So have you done correctly or not? So field 1 we capture. So instead of clear, we perform the click action here. So that is a mistake we have done. So we have to clear that element, not a click action, right? So let's execute one more time. So hello world is there by default. Now it is cleared, and enter the new value, and the same value is copied into the second box because it is performed the double click action on the element. Okay. So this is how we can just use double click action. So this is the method which is available to perform the double click action. So on which element you want to perform the double click, you have to specify the element. So 3 methods so far we discussed. For mouse over, move to element is a method. Right click, context click is a method. To perform double click is a method. Double underscore click. Now drag and drop. So this is a more interesting thing. So drag and drop. So how we can do the drag and drop of elements. Now I'll show you some example here how to perform the drag and drop. It is very simple and straightforward. Let me just open this application. Okay. So now we can just look at this box. So I have a different type of country capitals are there in one side. The other side, I can see a different type of countries. So I just want to match together. So I just want to drag this capital into proper country. So for example, here I want to drag this Washington into United States like this. This is a drag and drop. And Rome, I want to move into the Italy. So even if you move it incorrectly, no issues at all. But the main intention here is how to perform the drag and drop. Okay, so by default, the application will be like this. So now we need to perform the drag and drop. So now I want to move this Rome into Italy. So just this is a source element, and where we have targeted here Italy. So to perform the drag and drop, only 2 things we have to remember. One is we need to know what is the source element, what is the target element, from where to where we want to move that element. Okay, that's the main thing we need to know before performing the drag and drop. So if I just look at this example, so here Rome, let me take one capital. The same thing you can repeat for other elements also. So Rome is an element, which is a source element. I want to drag it. And where we want to drag it? Into Italy. So Italy is a target element. So I know the source element, I know the target element, then I will perform the drag and drop. So first of all, let us capture these 2 elements, and then we will see how to perform the drag and drop. So go back and create one more example. A new Python file. I'll say drag and drop. Okay, so in this, I'm just going to copy some piece of code, and here we specify the driver, service object, and then implicit wait. And let me just launch our website. So I say driver.get, take this application URL and specify it. Then I'll try to maximize it. Driver.maximize window. So now we need to capture the source and target elements. So what is the source element here? You can take any of one of these elements, no problem. So let me take the Rome as a source element. So when I inspect this element, Rome element, and you can find it here. And if I just look at ID is available, right? So we can directly take the ID, which is box 6. Let me find that element. Driver dot find element. So driver dot find element by dot ID comma box 6. So that's actual ID. So this will give you the source element. So I'll name it as a source underscore element. Source underscore element. And similarly, let's capture the target element. So this is the element I want to move to Italy. So Italy is our target element. So inspect this Italy also. And for the Italy also, there is an ID available called box 106. Let's capture that element also. Driver dot find element by dot ID, specify that ID. Okay, so this is our target element. Target underscore element. So now we know the source element, we know the target element. So now we need to move this source element into target element. So we need to perform the drag and drop action. So drag and drop is a mouse action. So we need to create a action chain class object. So act equal to action chains, and we have to pass the driver instance. Now, by using this object, there is a method called drag and drop. So direct method is available. So drag act dot drag and drop. This is a method. Drag and drop, drag underscore and underscore drop. And here we need to first specify the two parameters we have to specify the drag and drop. So what are the two parameters? Source element and target element. So the first parameter is a source element, comma. The second parameter or second argument is a target element. So now this particular method, drag and drop method, will drag the source element into target element, and this will create an action. And to complete this action, we will use perform. And this is the exact statement will perform the drag and drop operation. Okay, now let us execute and see. Right click, run it. Okay, now we can just look at this. Rome is moved into Italy. So similarly, you can identify other elements, other capitals like Washington and Suel and Married and everything. So you can just try to drag and drop like this. You can move all the elements, but in one shot, it is not possible. So we need to do multiple times. So we need to write this statement multiple times. Okay, so first like this, we need to first get the source and target elements and then do the drag and drop. So, but actions class object, you can just create only once. Once it is created, you can also do it here also, no problem. So these are the source and target element, and then we have moved it. Suppose I want to move something else. So let's say this is Italy, right? So let me just give direct name, Italy underscore element. Sorry, this is a Rome. So it is Rome underscore element, and this is a Italy underscore element, and I'm saying Rome here, and then Italy here. Okay, this is fine. So let's execute, and I'll try to do one more element. So now it is successfully moved. Similarly, I just want to move Washington into United States. So then how can we do it? We can just write two more statements. So we can just go back, copy this whole thing, and paste it over here. Okay. And over here, what we will do is you can just change the element. So let me just go back. And let us find the Washington element. So go to the Washington. The ID is box 3. Washington element box 3. So let me just say Washington. And this is a box 3, right? And what is the target element? So Washington, I want to move to United States. So inspect the United States. The ID is box 103. So here box 103. So now specify the same source element and a target element and then perform. That's it. So this is one drag and drop, and this is another drag and drop. Okay, so let's execute now. So it should perform two different actions. So Rome is moved, then Washington is also moved. So similarly, you can just try with the rest of the elements. So only thing is we need to know what is the source element, where is the target element. That's it. If you know these two things, you can simply use drag and drop method to perform the drag and drop operation. So to perform the drag and drop, so we have to say two elements. One is a source element, comma, target element. So these are the different type of mouse operations which we can perform. So mouse over, right click, double click, and drag and drop. Okay. So now I'll show you something different. Okay. So let's go to this element. Okay. Now we can just look at this. And you can see these type of element, most of the e-commerce website, when you're selecting the price ranges, right? So you can just see these are starting and ending point. So we can just drag like this. Okay. And this also we can just drag like this. So this is also mouse operation. Okay. So this is basically called as slider element. So range slider. Okay. So let us see how we can do this slider. So one way is moving the sliders. You can just pass some value here. Then accordingly, this will automatically move. But I don't want to interact with these two elements, input boxes. I just want to interact with the slider directly. So initially it is in some position. Here it also having some default position. So now I want to just drag like this. And this one also I want to drag like this. So this is also we can do through mouse operation. Okay, now we'll see how we can do this. And this is also a kind of a drag and drop, but we cannot directly use drag and drop method here. But this is also drag and drop action only, but there is one more method is available to perform this. I'll tell you what is the difference between normal drag and drop and this one. This is a drag and drop. There is a difference. Okay. Okay, let's create a new example. New Python file, slider. Okay, so again, so here I just copy some piece of code. Here I launch my web application and then maximize the window. Now you need to understand a few important things. Okay, so this is my slider, right? So everything here you can call it as a minimum slider and this is a maximum. This is a minimum and this is maximum. Okay, you can consider them like this. So by default, so if you want to move this minimum slider like this, we will know exactly where is the current position. Okay. And if you know the location of current position, so then from there you can add some other value, then it can accordingly we can just move like this. Similarly, if you want to drag this, we want to know the current location or current position of this element. And then we can just do some minus value and then we will decrease this value. And accordingly with this slider will be reduced like this. So the main intention here, the main thing we need to know is the location of those elements. Because normally if there are any elements, every element is having how to measure the location of the element on the web page. So maybe this is a normal question most of the interviews people will ask. Suppose if there is an element is there, how to measure the location, how to get the location of the element. Through automation, I want to get the location of the element. And not only this one, so if I want to get the location of input box, I want to get the location of image, or I want to get the location of some button, or I want to get the location of a logo element. So to get the location, we have certain methods available. So it's just like web element dot location. If I use that, that will give you the location. But how to measure it? So normally the location will be represented with X and Y axis. Okay, X and Y axis. So how it is going to represent? So for example, if I just look at this, if you want to measure the location of this element, so let us say this is an X axis and this is the Y axis. Okay. Now this is the element. Let us assume this is currently in 0, 0 position. And if this element is moving in this direction, X axis will be increased. Okay, X0 to X axis will be increased. Suppose this element is moving in this direction, then Y axis value will be increased. Okay, wherever it is element, it doesn't matter. But based on the movement, we want to check or we want to know which coordinate we want to increase. So, but here the slider, we cannot move in the upper direction, right? We can just move only in the horizontal direction. So that means only X axis we can increase, but we cannot increase the Y axis. So let us assume currently this is 0 position. From 0 position to, if I want to place this here, okay, that element, then we need to add some value to the 0. So 0 plus 30 or 40 or 50 something, and accordingly it will increase the X axis and place the element here. Okay, and same thing for this also. This is a, let us say this is my X axis and this is my Y axis. So here Y axis is same 0, but if I just move in this direction, horizontal only, this is also horizontal direction. So only X axis we can decrease, but here this 100% is achieved, so we cannot move further. Only thing is we can reduce this. So here we do minus value, and if we increase this value, we will do plus value. So to add plus or to do minus, we have to know the what is the current position of X axis of those elements. If you know the X axis of those elements, then easily we can add some more value to the existing value, then we can increase this. And similarly, if you know the exact X axis of this element, we can minus some value and then we can decrease this element. Okay, but how to know the locations of this element? You have to know the x-axis and y-axis of those elements. That's the first thing we need to focus on. So let us see how we can get it. So very important, listen carefully. So first of all, I launch my web applications and maximize the page. So let us capture these two elements first, minimum slider and maximum slider. So let us inspect the first element. And this is the element, right? So if I just go to the XPath of this is giving one XPath here. So this is the XPath which is given. So let me copy this XPath for the first element, first slider. I say driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify that XPath. Okay, this is the first element. And I'll store this element in a variable. I'll call it as a minimum slider, min slider. And now let us capture the second element also, second slider, inspect this element. And this is the XPath which is given. Copy this. Okay, so same thing, but here it is giving just a 2. Body div and span 2. Okay, perfectly fine. So now I'll name it as a max underscore slider. So now I capture the first slider, that is a web element again, and the maximum slider is also web element. I captured them. Now I need to find out the location of the minimum slider, the location of the maximum slider. Okay. Now, so what you will do is to find the location of any web element, simply call the location variable. So how we will get, let me just print it. So I'll write something here. So before moving, I'm just printing the locations. Okay, I'll just write something. So I'll say location of sliders before moving. Okay, location of sliders before moving. So how to get the location of this slider? Minimum underscore slider dot simply call location. So that will give you the location in the sense again x and y both. So now I'm just printing this value. Okay, so this will print. Now again print, I want to get the location of a maximum slider. So I'll say max underscore slider dot location. So this will give you location. So let's execute till here and let us find out the location first. So not only the slider, so if you want to check the location of any other element, you can just use that method. Okay, now close it. Now we got something here. So just copy this here. This is a statement which is written this. And this is another statement which is also written this one. It is basically written a dictionary object. So in the Python, we discussed about dictionary, right? Dictionary collection. What is a dictionary? Dictionary contains a key and value pairs. So here X is a key, this is a value, and Y is a key, 252 is a value. So basically this location is written the key and value pair. Okay. Now, as I said, for every element, there will be X-axis and Y-axis. If I just look at the minimum slider, what is the location of this? X-axis is 59, Y-axis is 252. Okay, X-axis is 59, Y-axis is 252. So Y-axis we cannot change because the slider is designed only in the horizontal direction. We can move here. So Y-axis we cannot change. So forget about this. We will consider only X-axis 59. Now come to the next slider, maximum slider. And it is also we can move only in the horizontal direction. So only X-axis we can move. So currently what is an X-axis? 639 is there. So Y-axis we cannot move. Okay, let it be there. So now what I will do is based on this X-axis current value, I will add something, some other value. I will add something to the X-axis for the first element so that it will just move forward. And now I will decrease some value from this X-axis so that it will reduce some value. So just I want to do like this. I want to move forward. I want to do this backward. So for minimum slider, what is the current value of X? 59. So I will add something like 10 or 20 or extra. Okay. Then if I add 100, suppose, then 159 number of pixels, it will move. 159, it should move. Similarly, let's say 639 is there. So if I just minus 39, again 600, it will just reduce like this. Okay. Now, don't consider these values, guys. So these are the default values they have created. These are not X and Y axis numbers. This is a different thing. So I'm just focused only on this one. Okay. Now let us move them. So how to move them first of all? Okay. So to move this, we have to use again actions class object only. Okay. So let us try to, so before moving, these are the default values or default locations which we have captured from minimum slider and maximum slider. Now I want to move them. So to move this, we need to create an actions class object. So act equal to action chains of driver. Right. Now there is a method called act dot drag and drop by offset. This is a method we have to use. Okay, but in the previous example, drag and drop, we have only source and target element. Only source and target elements are there. But here, so what is the source and target? So we have to pass the 3 arguments here, not a 2 arguments, because we need to pass the element and current x-axis and then y-axis. So 3 parameters we have to pass here. So that's the reason instead of using drag and drop, we have to use a drag and drop by offset. So the first parameter, there's a source element. What is the element? So minimum slider I'm taking. And what is the current x and y axis? X is 59, y is 252, right? So we need to increase the x axis now because we need to move forward. So 59 is their default. Now I'm just moving till 100. So currently 59 is the current value. 59 plus 100, approximately it is 159. It should move. And what about the y axis? Y axis, you don't need to consider. So I can just leave it as empty, or I can say 0 here. Okay, so I can just put 0 because we don't know y axis. We are not going to do anything with the y axis. So let's make it as a 0 as a default value and dot perform. Dot perform. Now what this command will do now, this particular command will move this slider. Current position is 59. So 59 plus 100, 159. But you will not get exact value, but approximately nearby value it will take, like 155 or 159, something like this, or 160 sometimes. But exact value you will not get any time because it depends on the resolution of your application also sometimes. And it will change from one browser to another browser also. Those values are not at all constant. Okay. So now minimum slider. So currently, previously 59 is the x coordinate of this slider. And now I'm increasing 100. Okay. Now same thing we will do for maximum also. So let's say act dot drag and drop by offset. And now take this maximum slider. That's an element. And previously what is an x-axis? 639. 639, right? So this time what I will do is I'll say minus 40 I'm doing. Okay, minus 40 or minus 39 also you can do. 600 nearby you will get. Let's do minus 39. Okay. And then we don't know y-axis, you can make it as a 0 by default and then perform. So now what I have done, I've increased the x-axis of the first element till 100 increased. And now I reduced the y-axis, or I reduced the maximum element, maximum slider x-axis value minus 39. I reduced 39. Okay. Now after reducing, after increasing, like after movement is done, then I will print the same thing one more time after movement is done. So location of slider after moving. After moving. So now we will see the values, how we will get. So is there any difference, or what is the difference? We will notice here. So let's execute now. So now you can just look at on the UI also. You can see the sliders are moving. Yeah, the first slider and the last slider. So both have moved, right? So now we can just go back and check it here. Just a second. Yeah, so I closed my console window, sorry. So let me execute one more time. Okay. So done. So you can just close this window. Now you can just look at here. So these are the default values we got earlier, 59 and 639. And now these are the latest values. Let me just look at this. This is the one and this is the one. So now look at this, how much value it is increased and how much is decreased. So previously 59 is there. So we have increased 100, 100 plus 59, 159. So we got 158. So nearby value will get always plus or minus 1 or 2 will be difference. Difference always will be there. Okay. And 59 plus 100. So almost 159. So exactly it is moved to 158. Perfectly fine. Now what about this one? So previously it was 639, but I reduced 39. So 600 we should get actually. but we got 598. There is only two numbers are difference. And this is also nearby value. We got it. So that means it is successfully moved to one position to another position. So to move the slider into one position to another position, so we have to just specify some number. Increase, if you want increase, we have to specify the positive number, or if you want to decrease or reduce that slider, then we have to pass the negative value or minus value. But if you want to pass this number, how much value we pass this, you have to know the current value. That's the reason first initially we capture those locations. Accordingly, we increase or decrease it. And suppose sometimes if you see the same thing in vertical kind of slider, in those cases, we will just change the y-axis. Instead of x-axis, we will change the y-axis. Okay, so x-axis still be 0 and y-axis only we will work. If sometimes your slider is there in vertical direction, suppose if your slider is like this, and here you are having one slider, here you're having one more side. So in this direction, you can move here. You cannot move in the horizontal direction. You can move only in the vertical direction. In those cases, only y-axis we can increase or we can decrease. Okay, so this is how we can just work with the slider element. Let me just clear it. Okay, let me just close. Okay, so this is about slider element. So what is the difference between drag and what is the method we used here? Drag and drop by offset. So for the slider, so we use this particular method. So this is also drag and drop, but only the difference between this one and this one is here we are just drag and drop the elements. Element we are moving from one place to another place. But here the element we are moving from one place to another place. But what is that place? We have to pass the x offset. We can call it as a x offset, x axis, and here we have to pass the y axis value. And this is a element. This is an element, or we can call it as a slider or whatever it is. This is element. Okay, so this is all about slider. So these are all different type of mouse operations which we can perform using action chains class. Very important topic. Okay, we'll get definitely more questions on this topic. So how to handle the mouse operations and what are the different type of mouse operations are available, how to perform those mouse operations, and what are the different methods are available. Okay, so this is all about mouse operations. Now I will show you something different, which is also mouse operation, but we cannot do using action chains class. Okay, that is also mouse operation, but we cannot do this by using action chains. But how we can handle that? What is that an operation? So let me just tell you something here. So we have something called scrolling page. So sometimes you will get some scroll on the page, right? If the content is very large on your web page, you can see the scroll option in the right side. So we have to just vertically scroll the page and see, we can see the lot of other content which is displayed on the web page. So that is basically called as scrolling. Let me show you some example here. So let me just launch this application. So in this application, so you can see a lot of content, and basically this UI or this application contains a 197 countries flags. Okay, but as soon as you launch your page, you cannot see all the flags in one page. So you have to scroll down the page like this to see other content. Right, so this is a scrolling option actually. So this is also mouse operation, but this scroll is there, right? So this is actually coming from the browser, not from the application. Okay, so if the content is very smaller, then this will not appear. If the content is keep on increasing and it is not able to visible in one shot, then this scroll will automatically appear and automatically displayed by the browser, and then we will use this scroll like this. So this is not part of your application, so we cannot identify this, and we cannot do this by using mouse actions class. Just a moment, guys. Okay, so we cannot do this using actions chain class. So we have to handle this in different way. So now I'll show you how we can do this operation, scrolling operation. So without using actions. First of all, actions class will not support this because this is not part of your application. Okay. So for that, we have a special method is there. So by using that, we will do that. So basically this scroll is related to JavaScript. So it is designed by using JavaScript. So only by executing some JavaScript statements, we will able to handle this scroll. Okay. Now I'll show you how we can work with this. Listen carefully. Let me create another Python file and scrolling. Okay, so in this, I'm just going to have some piece of code. Okay, so I just specify the driver, launching my Chrome driver, implicit wait, and launching your application, and then maximize the page. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to scroll down the page. I just want to scroll down the page like this. But again, this scroll down we can do in 3 different ways. Okay, 3 different options available. So one is we can scroll this till certain location or certain number of pixels is got changed. Suppose here in his initial position, 0 position, initially it is a 0 position. So if I just move like this and we can stop here, but where to stop, we have to specify a number, some pixel number we have to specify. Accordingly, it will go and stop there. Okay, that is a one option. The second option is, suppose we are looking for some element on the web page. So I want to scroll down the page till I found that element. So for example, I'm just looking for an India flag, which is not displayed in this list. So I want to scroll down the page like this till I found the India flag somewhere. You can just look at here. Somewhere it is found. So here you can see the India flag. As soon as you found India flag, then it will stop scrolling here. That is another option which we have. And based on the element location, we will scroll it till we found this element. That's a one thing. And this is a most useful option. Most of the times we use it. And the third option is initial point. From initial point, we can directly scroll down till it reaches the end of the page. Till reaches end of the page. This is the third option. Okay. So these 3 different ways we can scroll down the page. Now I'll show you how we can do this. Go back. And here I already launched my application. So maximize the window. So only thing is I just want to scroll the page till I reach certain pixel number. That's the first thing. So the first approach is scroll down the page by pixel number. So we have to pass some pixel number. So how to scroll it? So we have a one method called driver.execute script. Okay, driver.execute_script. So by using this method, what we can do is we can just pass some JavaScript statements. Inside the execute_script method, we have to pass some JavaScript statements. And only with those JavaScript statements, we will able to scroll the web page. So what are those JavaScript statements? You have to just remember this because this is a JavaScript syntax. Okay, you don't need to learn JavaScript for this. You can just remember the few things here. So in the first double quotations, we have to pass one parameter called window.scrollBy_of. So initially it is a 0 position. So how much we want to move it? Let's say 3000 pixels I specified. Okay, this is a function call actually. And the second parameter is empty. We don't need to pass the second parameter. So this is actual syntax. Okay, this is a JavaScript syntax which is suggested to use it. So this is the actual first parameter. So in the first parameter, what we are doing actually, we are calling one method called scrollBy by passing the starting point and ending point. So this is JavaScript built-in function. So this will able to scroll down the page till 3000 pixels exactly. But how we will know whether exactly it is moving till 3000 pixels or not? We can capture that value also. How much value it is moved till here, how much it is moved here. So we want to, if you want to capture that value, we can still capture it. How to capture it after movement is done? So here we can write one more statement, that is driver.again execute script. And here we have to pass one argument called return window.page y offset. Okay, these are the predefined parameters, guys. You have to remember this, no other way. Okay, so this is a one parameter, just one even semicolon is also part of the statement. So return window.page y offset semicolon. So when you pass this argument inside the execute script, this will return the exact position of your scroll, and that position you can capture into the variable called value. And then we will print that value. Print, I can simply say number of pixels moved. And here I will print the value. And what is we are expecting here? So we have just sent 3000 pixels we have moved. So here also we are expecting 3000. It should be 3000 exactly, right? Now let us execute and see now. Run scrolling and launching my application. Maximize. Yeah, now we can just look at here from 0 position to 3000 pixels. It is moved actually. But how we will know that? If I just go back, it is exactly printed 3000. So that means this particular statement is captured how much the scroll bar is got moved. Okay, this is exactly given 3000, perfectly fine. So this is a one approach. So you can just specify the value here, how much you want to move it. Accordingly, we can move the scroll bar. This is one approach. Now I'll show you the second approach. So what is the second approach? We need to scroll down the page till the element is visible. Still the element is visible. So for that, what you need to do is, again, we have to use the same script. But before that, we need to capture that element, because based on the element, we have to scroll down the page. So let's go back and get that element. Which element? So let's see, I'll take some bottom element. Let me take the India flag here. So where is it? Here it is. So this is an image element. Okay, let me inspect this image element. Okay, so let me open this another browser. Okay, so now let me just take India flag. Okay, so now here it is. Let's inspect this element. Okay, this is the IMG tag, and let's capture the XPath of the element. So this is the XPath of the element which is given, IMG tag. Get it and find that element first. I say driver.find element by .xpath. Specify that XPath and get that element. What is an element? Flag, right? So I'll say flag equal to. So now we got that element. So now we need to move the scroll till we find this flag element. Okay, so for that, what you will do is we have to use the same function, but we need to just change the parameter. So driver.execute script, and the parameters are, the first parameter is arguments of 0. Okay, dot scroll into view. Scroll into view. These are all case sensitive. We have to carefully provide these methods. Scroll into view and bracket and semicolon. So this is a first method, first argument. The whole thing is one argument in the double quotations. Now the second argument will be the flag. So that element which we located. So that we have to pass. So now what this statement will do, this particular statement will scroll down the page till we find this element. But if you want to know how many pixels it's got moved, then again, we can just use the statements. So get the value of the scroll element and then print here. How much it is moved, you will know that. Let's execute now. This is the second approach. So now we can see India flag as a first element on the web page. Okay, now we can just look at here. India flag is the first element on this page. Now it gets stopped here actually. It is not moved till end of the page, it gets stopped here. But where it is stopped exactly, this is a pixel number. In this location, exactly it is gets stopped. Okay, so this is a one approach. So we can scroll down the page till we find some element. Now the third approach is, if you want to scroll down the page till end of the page, till we reach the end of the page, and that is a third option. So scroll down the page till end. So for that, what we will do is we can just specify the same method, driver.execute script, but here the method is window.scroll by from 0 position to end of the document, right? So instead of 3000, we will specify one argument called document dot body dot scroll height GHT, scroll height. This is the one argument, and second argument is not required. Okay, so here arguments of 0 dot scroll into view is a JavaScript function. Okay, we no need to understand what exactly it is. So if you know JavaScript function, so then only you will understand what exactly it is. So just remember this point. That's it. Okay. You don't need to know what exactly this 0, 1, 2, and so on. So just pass this argument into this double quotations. That's it. The second element, second parameter is our element. That's it. So what this statement will do is this particular statement will scroll down the page till we find this element. That is the main usage of this particular statement. And basically the execute script is a method by which we will able to execute the JavaScript statements. So these are the JavaScript statements actually, because that scroll bar is there, right? That is given by JavaScript on the web pages. So that's the reason we, by invoking this JavaScript statements, we will able to control the scroll bar option. Okay, this is the additional feature which is available in Selenium WebDriver. So we need to just remember these points. That's it. Okay. Now scroll down the page till end of the page. So simply window.scroll by. Initially previously we have sent 0, comma some number we have given, but from this time from 0 position to end of the document till end of the page. So how we can represent that? Document dot body dot scroll height. Only one parameter, scroll height, only one parameter. So this whole thing is one argument. And this particular statement will scroll down the page till end of the page. But again, if you want to see how many pixels is got moved, then specify the statements. So we capture the value and print it. Let's execute now. Okay, now we can just look at this. It is scroll down till end of the page. Okay. And suppose my requirement is I just want to scroll down the page. Again, I want to go reverse direction. I want to go to the initial position like this. So it is already moved to somewhere like this, but I want to go in initial position, 0 position. I want to navigate in the reverse direction. So for that, what you can do is we can simply do one more statement. Again, same statement in the reverse direction, or we can say scroll up in the starting point, starting position. Scroll up to the starting position. So here window dot scroll by from 0 to, if you want to navigate till end of the page, we have used this statement. But if you want to go to the starting point, again uses minus negative value. Okay, because if I just positive value document dot body dot scroll, it will go to end of the page. Now again, if you want to come to the initial position, I say minus. That's the only difference. Okay, this command will again come to the starting point, right? So now again, if you want to see the starting point, you can just specify this again value. Let's execute, and I'll give some time because it will take we cannot see this it will go very faster. So I'll just give some sleep time called 5 here, and then execute. Okay, now it is into end of the page. Now again, it should go back to the initial point. Yeah, now we can see it is again go back to the initial point, 0 position. Now you can see this is the actual pixel numbers, last pixel numbers. It is more here. Here it is. And after going back again, it becomes a 0 position. Okay, so this is how we need to handle the scrolling option. So you can try this for any web pages, whichever is having this scroll option. Okay, because this scroll we can control only through JavaScript statement, only by executing JavaScript statements inside this execute underscore script method. So by using this method only we can do that, we can control it. Okay, so this is all about scrolling page. So all these are mouse actions, but except the scrolling page, rest of them we can handle by using action change class object. And but scrolling page we can access only through execute script method. Okay, so these are the topics. And so what you have to do as part of assignment today is you can just go to testautomationpractice.blogspot.com. So in this website you can find different things. Okay, so you can find here, double click, same program, you can try this, and drag and drop images. You can just look at here. So this image you can just drag into trash like this, and this also you can just drag into trash. And if you want to recycle, you can just click on this, recycle this image, it will go to initial position. So you guys can try this. This is the one drag and drop images is available, and slider is also there. So you can just try this slider. and table we already covered. What else we have? So this alert is there, so you can also try this alert, and these are the different drop downs. So whatever elements you want to interact, you can just try this. Okay, and the scroll is also there. So this is a scroll element, so you can just try this, how to scroll this scroll apart from the class examples. Okay, so this is a assignment. Okay, so here one more thing is asking, so let me just cover that. So it's very simple, just go to the right click. Okay, so here what exactly we are doing, we are just right clicking on the element, right? So let me just show you that operation also. Okay, so here after right clicking, we got some options here, right? So we have just done only right click action. So after getting these options, I want to select one of them. So how we can do that? Simply we can right click again, and we have to inspect this element first of all. So let me inspect. And once you click on the right click, you will get these menu options, right? I want to select a copy here. So what you will do, inspect this element, copy. And now we got something here, and get the XPath for that. So this is XPath. Let's capture the XPath, go back. And after right clicking on the element, just continue the script. So driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify the XPath, and you need to perform the click action. It's a normal click. Okay, dot click, normal click. So this is actually copy option. You can just choose one of the option based on the XPath. So once you click on the copy option, what happens? Which will opens the pop-up window or alert window. So I want to close this. I have only OK button, so I want to close this. And how to close this? We have to switch to this particular alert window, then we can close it. So let me just switch to it. I say how to switch it, driver dot switch to dot alert. So this command will switch to the alert window. And after switching directly dot, I can simply say accept, because I don't need to store this alert window in any other variable, because I don't want to perform anything on this, right? So you can just say accept, then automatically the alert window also will be closed. That's it. So let me just put some time also, so that you will able to see sleep dot time. Okay, time dot sleep. Okay, I'll say 5 seconds, and after opening the copy also, I'll put some time. So time dot sleep, and I'll say 3 seconds here, so that you will able to see very clearly, or else it will go very faster. So now let me execute. Okay, now right click is done. And after clicking on the copy, now we got the alert window. Now it should close. So it is get closed. Okay, so this is how we can just continue with the rest of the actions. So this is a right click action. Okay, so this is all about mouse related operations. And one more thing is, by using this action chain class object, we can also do keyboard actions. So we can also perform the keyboard actions, not only mouse actions. We can also do like Control A, Control V, Control C. So these are operations normally we do from keyboard, right? So even those operations also we can directly do by using action chains class object. So how we can perform those actions, that we will discuss in the tomorrow session. Okay. So for today, I'm just stopping here. If you have any queries, we will have discussion. So rest of the things we will continue tomorrow session.